I've been thinking a lot about where self-belief comes from, because so many people that I work with come from a position, a starting position of not really believing themselves, not really backing themselves, not kind of seeing the negatives rather than the positives. So I kind of thought, where does that self-belief come from? And I've kind of come from this to this conclusion. It is two things. Self-belief isn't just about knowing yourself really well. That's only half the equation. I mean, I think when you think about it, knowing yourself, to thine own self be true, knowing yourself is kind of a beginning of wisdom and all of that kind of thing, I think is absolutely true. But many of the people I work with are talented and inspirational, overflowing with achievements. So they have that kind of knowledge of themselves, but yet when faced with something that they've never done, they're flooded with self doubt. I can't do it, or I've not done it before, or I don't know how type thinking. So I've just noticed that many are waiting for the evidence, the facts that they are ready. So, I'm just curious to know whether this rings true for you. So, I think self belief, it has two ingredients. First of all, there is the self knowledge, the facts about you, what makes you tick, your factory settings, your energizers, your drains, your values, what you find purposeful, um, your blind spots, all of that kind of thing, your skills, your track record, your value. So this is absolutely, I do think it's foundational when it comes to self-belief and confidence. So it matters enormously. And I think you can't fake your way to genuine confidence without that knowledge. Or you can, but it's very hard. But the second thing is this: it's self-faith. Self-faith. You need that faith in yourself that goes beyond the facts. If you think about it, every time you take a meaningful leap in your career, promotion, difficult conversation, bold idea that you shared, you didn't have all the evidence that you'd succeed. You just believed that you could figure it out. Or you kind of felt the fear and did it anyway. So that's not necessarily delusion, is it? It's just courage in action. And it brings me to mind of that saying, this quote that I love, which is, confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the knowledge that you'll be okay despite your fear. I think that's by Nicholas Wignall, the psychologist. Anyway, so this is what I see is holding people back. They're trying to build a bulletproof case for their own capabilities before they'll take action. But life just doesn't work that way. So, the best opportunities often come before you feel ready. So it just means that if you don't kind of tap into that self-faith, that those opportunities will pass you by, or the moment is gone. So seize the day, carpe diem. So how do you build this kind of faith-based side of self-belief? How do you build self-faith? Well, I think these are some of the things that you can do. You can start with small bets on yourself, volunteer for that stretch assignment, put your hand up, step forward for something, share your opinion in the meeting. Each kind of small win builds that kind of I can figure it out muscle. Yeah. So just take it easy, but just start, do something. The second thing I think you do is you reframe your internal narrative. Instead of I don't know how to do this, add the yet. I don't know how to do this yet, and I'm resourceful enough to learn, or this is going to be my development. The third thing I think is just collect evidence. I'm a big fan of feedback, but collecting evidence of your resilience, not just your achievements. So if you remember the times that you bounced back, or you adapted, or you tried something that didn't work, or said something that wasn't quite right, but it led to an interesting conversation, you've learned from it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Failure is development in disguise. But so I think that kind of resilience in bouncing back or adapting, finding creative solutions is kind of pure gold for building faith in your ability to handle whatever comes next. And let's face it, in life, it's very unpredictable at the moment, isn't it? So your ability to kind of face the future and be able to have the confidence and self-belief and self-faith that you'll be able to deal with what comes your way is just an amazing life skill to have. And the other thing I was going to say is like separate preparation from procrastination. You know, ask yourself, am I getting ready or am I taking action? Sometimes there's a really good reason for procrastination. To me, like if I'm procrastinating, sometimes that means I'm just percolating and I'm really thinking things over. But sometimes, the best preparation is just starting, just do it, as Nike says. So the leaders that I admire, the people I admire most, aren't the ones that had all the answers. And let's face it, it's really hard to have all the answers these days. The ones that I admire are the ones who combined self-knowledge with enough faith in themselves to act before they felt completely ready. So your expertise is valuable. Your experience matters. But your willingness to trust yourself in the unknown is what transforms careers. So here's my challenge for you. What's one thing that you've been putting off until you feel more ready? I've had a few of those. So, I just urge myself to do it. I put it in the diary and say, it shall be done. Yeah. What small step could you take this week that requires a little faith in yourself? Let's build those muscles. And remember, fast track to fearless, which is what I'm all about, isn't about having all the facts. It's about combining what you know with the courage to trust what you don't know yet. So listen, what's your experience with this? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Take care. See you soon.